Back on golf today, the world #1 with a great opportunity to win the Kroger.
Oh, that was her birdie putt after she gunned her eagle putt by the hole and gunned the birdie putt by as well, Damon.
All right, we'll just knock this in and be a great playoff between Gino and Charley Hull. Gotta be kidding me. Oh, this game can be cruel sometimes, Eamon.
That is a 4-putt bogey, the world #1, which left Charley Hull with her birdie putt for an unexpected turnaround on the 72nd hole.
I think her legs were shaking there during that putt. I could be crazy, but that's what I saw.
That is the third victory on the LPGA Tour for Charley Hull. 13 starts this year. She had been a runner-up earlier in the year. 3 top 10s. And let's hear from the latest winner.
What about your game right now is just working? Obviously, the back-to-back top twos.
So, like, obviously, I'm actually a bit injured at the minute. I tore the ligament completely in half on my foot in a car park at the week after the British Open at a golf event. Got told it could be up to 9 weeks that I could be out. I was like, wow. I turned it around in 3 weeks. Played last week. Had an MRI on my back as well because I've picked up a box about a couple of months ago. It was before Evian, and I think I tore something in my back, and it never got better. And then when I fell down when I done my ankle, got the MRI, and I've got some like cysts growing from where I've like tore the muscle. But I've got a very healthy spine. It's just like managing it and stuff. I think I've been slapped with every injury at the minute, so I'm just been like managing my way through it this week, and my body's feeling actually pretty good. A little bit sore, but no, I just been absolutely grinding hard at home after I had 14 days off because of my injury, and then the last week or so I was hitting so many golf balls and practicing hard, and obviously hard work pays off, and it has. I just feel good at the minute.
Charley, where does this one rank, having dealt with all of that adversity in the past few months?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. Obviously, I think coming from British Open, I really wanted to play Canada and Boston after because I was on such a roll, and I was just worried it was just going to make me feel really down and depressed and put a halt to my game, and I've managed to battle through it, and I've come back second and won this week, so yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Beware the injured golfer. We're joined now by Mel Reid, who was part of the Golf Channel coverage over the weekend. Mel, is Charley Hull exactly the kind of player that the LPGA Tour should want to see winning more often? Because she's a colourful, engaging character out there.
The golfing world in general, I think, is a better place when Charley Hull plays well. I think I've known Charley for, oh gosh, way too long, when she was about 13 or 14, and she's never changed. She's authentically herself. She does things her own way. But don't mistake like her humour and her kind of laid-backness for her not being, a very hard worker. She's very disciplined. She kind of has figured out her own lane, and she doesn't really listen to too many outsiders other than the people that are completely in her team. And you've got to admire her for that, and I think that's why she's had such a stellar career in the LPGA.
Mel, we saw some remarkable things on 72nd holes this weekend. Ben Griffin missing a short putt, obviously the 4-putt from the world #1, Gino Titikan. As professional golfers, how do you get past stinging disappointment like that and turn the page? How should Ben and Gino handle that?
I think this is going to be a tough one for Gino, I'm not going to lie. I think, being world #1, I've always spoken about how she doesn't win as much as she probably should do, and she's had a couple of second places. Yeah, she's won this year, but she's had a couple of second place a couple of weeks ago at the FM Championship, and, she basically had one hand on the trophy, on that 18th green there, and very uncharacteristic, just absolutely crushed that second putt. And then it was just a bad stroke on the third putt. It was actually kind of wild to see. I've never seen Gino not lose control like that, but it just makes such a 2 or 3 mistakes on the bounce as what I did do there on the 18th green. So it was kind of wild to see, and I think that one is definitely going to sting. But look, she's world #1 for a reason. She does have a memory of a goldfish, and I'm sure that she'll be just looking forward to the next week and the next time she plays, and looking forward to competing again and trying to put that right.
Still no repeat winners on the LPGA Tour this year, Mel. And in some respects, you could argue competitive parity is actually a sign of the depth out there, but there's also evidence that most sports do better when there's either a dominant star or a dominant rivalry, neither of which the LPGA Tour has. Is that a problem right now for the Tour, do you think?
Well, I don't know, really. I mean, you can say that, Nelly dominated last year, and did it really elevate the people looking at our tour. I'm not sure. So yeah, 25 different winners, which is absolutely wild to me. But I think that you've got to look at it that we've had a lot of Japanese winners this year. And yes, they're rookies on the LPGA, but they're not necessarily rookies. They've been very successful on an extremely, extremely competitive JLPGA tour. So you can't necessarily class them as rookies. And I think that's why they've had such success over here. But it's wild. I mean, yes, I think that's the strength and the depth of the tour. I think that each and every year it's getting more and more competitive. Nelly Korda is technically, quote unquote, playing better than last year, but has no wins yet. And so it's just, it's a wild time, actually, to be honest. It's wild even just kind of doing broadcast on it because you can't really predict who is going to have, who's going to lift the trophy at the end of the week. It seriously could be anyone. So from that aspect, it is really, really fun. But it is always nice as well when you have a dominant player like you did last year with Nelly Korda. It just goes to show how incredible actually her year was last year.
Mel, Mike Wan, back when he was commissioner of the LPGA, used to say his number one charge was to create big-time events for his players. What is Craig Kessler's number one job in your mind going into 2026? What does the LPGA need that it doesn't have now?
Well, first of all, he's got a pretty hefty challenge on him, I think, keeping some 200 women happy in the first place from all different kind of categories, all different parts of their career. Athletes, like it's just a very, very difficult job at hand. To be honest, I've been very impressed with him so far. I think what he needs to do is, number one, is that, look, from a player experience, the golf has really elevated itself over the last kind of 5, 6, 7 years. Like the way that we get treated, we have gyms on site, we get healthcare, that has definitely elevated. I would love, as now a fan, I would love to see more eyeballs on the game. And I think that is going to be his number one priority. How do we get these amazing tournaments that we have, these fantastic sponsors? How do we get the community and the town around that area to really get behind and know that there's an LPGA event in town with the best players in the world? How do we want you to come and watch us? I think that is going to be his biggest challenge yet.
Speaking of getting eyeballs, Mel, the LPGA Tour is soon about to go to Hawaii. Then it has a 5-week swing through Asia, which the tour has to go where the money is. That's just simply the commercial reality. But it is also harder to get eyeball traction in terms of the scale audience in the United States when you're in very distant time zones. Is that a fixable issue in your mind in terms of maybe minimizing the amount of time that the tour moves overseas or try to break it up a little bit?
Yeah, look, I think that schedule definitely needs some work. I think that I could even tell. I was walking around last Wednesday and I could tell just by so many of the players how tired they were. And it's because we've traveled to Europe a couple of times. This will be the second time we've been to Asia already this year. We dart West Coast to East Coast. It doesn't really, unlike the PGA Tour, it doesn't have like an East Coast swing, then a middle and then a West. Like we just kind of dart all over the place. So listen, I would love to have some sort of a similar format to like the FedEx Cup and maybe that be in Asia at the end of the year and that be the only time that we go to Asia. I think that could really balance it out and it could really benefit both sides of the coin, both, LPGA and our Asian global market. I think that is certainly something that could happen and should happen and then have the final kind of event over here in America. But yeah, I think, look, we've always had fantastic support from Asia. The players always do enjoy going there. We probably wish we were only going there once a year and having the 5 or 6 events just condense into the one time. But that is what makes our tour so special, right? Like it is such a global tour, but I definitely think it could be manipulated and worked a little bit better from a scheduling point of view to get the best players in the world at the end of the year playing in all these events.
Some 25 different winners on the LPGA Tour this season, Mel. Who, in your mind, has the best chance to become the first repeat winner this season? You got a whole lot of players to choose from, Mel.
Yeah, I've got all 25. This is why I retired. There's no chance I was going to be number 26. So, listen, I think you've got to look at Gino. Yeah, there's probably going to be a little bit of hurt there from last week, but she's also, don't take her calm demeanour and her kind gestures is not a first competitor, I can tell you that much. So she'll want to be put this one right. And I do believe that she's definitely, I think, going to be a multiple winner this year. And then you've got to look at some of these Japanese players. I mean, I just feel like Yamashita, who won the AIG Women's British Open, she was up there again. I'm very impressed with her game. I would not be surprised if one of these incredible Japanese players won again, if not 3 times by the end of this year.
Whose season surprises you most so far as we're halfway through September, Mel? Is it the fact that Nelly hasn't won at all, or is it the fact that other players like Minjee Lee or Gino haven't won multiple times?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest with you. I think looking at Nelly, and I actually think Nelly is playing better than last year. Looking at her, I think over a period of time, I think she certainly is. She's definitely more consistent from what I've seen and I've looked at, behind the stats. I also think that she's matured a lot. I think that at times her emotions, if things weren't going well, could get the better of her. I've certainly seen that change, and she's become much more mentally strong, I think, this year. So that is but listen, she's doing all the right things. Like it's hard to win, and you get bounces here and there, and she was in contention again last week. So yeah, I do think Nelly is literally right around the corner of having a win. And then it always shocks me that Minjee, Gino, even Charley don't win more than they do. But I think that just goes to show again, not only the strength of the LPGA, but I also think, I always say this, but I do think a little bit of course setup as well kind of brings in a lot of players, and it doesn't let the top players in the world kind of, take a big step forward and be a bit more dominant. So I think there's a few factors, but listen, I don't think it's a bad thing for the game that we're having a bunch of not first time winners, but different winners all around the season.
Mel, we appreciate your time and thoughts. Before we let you go, I noticed that Eagles helmet behind you. The Eagles are 2-0. Nice wins over the Cowboys and Chiefs to start. Are you happy with what Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and company are providing the Eagles so far?
Oh, massively, yeah. So, yeah, I'm married into an Eagles family, but unfortunately they've married into a Derby County family, which is way worse than being an Eagles family. So I do apologise on that
better
behalf.
Known as
but
Derby
yeah.
County nil, I believe.
Yeah, well, actually we won last week. Hey. It's much more fun at the minute being an Eagles fan than it is being a Derby County fan, I must have to say. So, yes, very happy the way the season's going so far.
Well, enjoy the ride. The Eagles off to a hot start. We appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.